IVM.
All right, hello guys to another episode of IVM Likes. Joining me today again is Mr. IVM, Amit Doshi. How are you, Amit?
I'm good, doing well.
Good morning. Good morning. And Ayushi Amin, the host, one half of the hosts of Agla Station Adulthood, the show that I'm a producer
Hello.
on. Yes.
Good morning. This feels like
Good morning.
I'm on an interview with my producer and the boss of IVM. Like you're gonna review my podcast or something now.
Well, your podcast is good. I like it. There you go. How's that?
Thank
For
you
a
so
Good
review?
much,
review
sir.
then. 5 stars.
Um,
Great. All right, so this is another episode of IVM Likes. If you guys are not aware of the show, in the first half of the episode, we recommend something that we've been recently checking out. It can be a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, a movie, a show, a TV, anything in the pop culture sphere. And in the second half, we talk about a very interesting pop culture topic. And on this episode, we'll be talking about we all have these long running shows that we are fans of, that we've been following for years and years. Sometimes the shows are not even that great anymore, but we still continue following them because, well, I started following it and I'm going to continue following it.
You're
So
committed.
that's yeah, exactly. So that's what's coming in the second half of the episode. In the first half, we'll just start with the recommendations. Amit, would you like to start off?
sure, yeah. So I found a really good murder mystery show just over the last week. It's called Shetland, Shetland. It's on Netflix. It is incredibly gorgeously shot. But the basic premise is it's a police inspector who's come back from the big city to live in his small little village in, like, north of Britain, Scotland, what have you. Small islands which are all, like, extremely isolated. And when crimes occur over there, or murders occur over there, he has to go and investigate them. And it's really interesting because, I mean, like, one is most murder shows or, crime shows that you see are set in large cities, right? New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, they're all set in these big cities. This one is set in like a tiny little village, right? I mean, like the biggest city on these group of islands is like a city of like 10,000 people or something like that. So it's really kind of isolated in that sense, but it's really well put together. The stories are really interesting. There's some amazing acting in there. Brian Cox was in Brian Cox from Succession and many other things. He was in so the way the setup is, like, each murder mystery is a set of 2 episodes.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Oh,
it's
So it's
okay.
like Sherlock.
yeah.
Like Sherlock
Uh,
used to be 2 episodes, no?
Sherlock was
Am I wrong?
Sherlock was each season was like 3 episodes or
3,
something like
4.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think also what happened with Sherlock is each episode was self-contained in some way. There was a larger arc, but each episode was self-contained. Whereas over here, what happens is that every case is 2 episodes, and it's very case-focused. There's not that much, like, Sherlock has a lot of, like, a brother and this and that and all that kind of nonsense happening, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is very much kind of just about the case. It's a procedural in that sense, but really well put together. Great actor. Sorry, the name is escaping me right now, but I didn't recognize him initially, though he was in a show which I remember liking like 10 years ago. There was a show called Primeval. It was basically a science fiction show where prehistoric or future animals would kind of just jump from dimension to dimension and just show up in our world. It was a fun show. It was a really fun
Wow.
show.
Yeah.
But he was the lead of that show, and now he's the lead of this show. Really good show. I highly recommend it.
How old is the show?
I think it's been going on since 2014.
Oh,
What they
wow.
do is
I
they
didn't know
do like these 2 episodes, mini seasons, like consistently, and I think they have like 8 or 9 of them done now. I've seen 3 of them, but
Wow.
but I really enjoyed it. I mean, I couldn't recommend it more.
And you're a huge fan of murder mystery shows, right?
I like the
Anyway,
show, so that's what my second part is all about, right? My second part is all about not
Law and
murder
Order.
mystery.
Is it Law and Order in second?
So it's Law and Order, and well, let's get to that now. Why
Okay,
do you
let's
want
get
to
to that.
why you want to spoil that piece for
No,
me?
no spoiling. I was taking a guess.
Law
I
and
was
Order,
taking a
big
guess,
spoiler.
and yeah. All right,
I'm
Ayushi, would you like
gonna
to?
I haven't watched Shetland,
Uh-huh.
obviously, but I would now only because of 2 things. A, you recommended it, but second, I recommend the island of Shetland, like the
Okay.
place, because
Okay.
my friend has a sheep farm and I've spent like a Christmas with her,
Oh
like
wow.
over
Wow.
there on the island. And it's unbelievably beautiful. And you're
Yeah.
right, it's so isolated and there's not a lot of people. Everyone who lives there is very much into like the small industries that are on the island.
Right.
So it's very
Wow,
contained, and
so
I'm
cool.
sure that adds like that very cool
It does. It's got
eeriness
this
to the
very
show.
kind of this isolated spookiness. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
every shot is like this big scene. Like it's like this wide shot where you can see like so much of the landscape and stuff like that. And such a such a varied landscape as well, right? They got like these peat bogs. They got fields. They got
Yeah.
grasses. They got
I
rocky
can only
shore,
imagine
beachy
that it's
shore.
like just a beautiful cinematography
It
wise. It
is.
must be
It
just
really is.
gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. But yeah, Shetland. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Shetland on Netflix. Please check it out, guys. Ayushi, would you like to go ahead with your recommendation?
Um, so you told me to prep. I have prepped one idea from each media form of what I'm
Yeah,
consuming right now.
let's run through them.
I didn't know
Let's run
you
through
only
one or
had
two
to
of
say
them.
one
Why not?
show.
Normally, how it goes on the show is the first recommendation is called the recommendation, and the second recommendation is called the recommendation. So you can have those. No worries.
Ah, okay, fine. So then I would say my first recommendation would be this book. It's called A Gentleman in Moscow. It is a bit long, but I
Okay.
have to say it is one of the most beautifully written books. It like the best way I think I can describe it is it's like a nice glass of red wine. It
Okay.
actually
Okay.
is.
Well.
It's just the literature, the language, the general cadence, everything is it almost feels like there was effort taken to write this book.
Is it
And
a is it a
the
spy
premise,
thriller?
no. Actually,
Okay.
I'm only halfway through, like I'm in the middle of it right now.
Okay.
And the entire premise so far is this is just after, the Bolsheviks have taken over Moscow. So
Okay.
like the Tsar and everything has kind of fallen, and now socialism and this that's kind of the time that you're looking at Russia. So they're all looking at the decline of all these like glory days and the parties and the debauchery and all of that. And so this is one man and you find this out in the beginning itself, so it's not like some sort of spoiler, is that he has written something that the new government finds very offensive. So instead of killing him because he was very higher up and respected as a person, they've put him on house arrest in a hotel in Moscow. And it's like this entire book is just watching his perspective as he lives for like years in this hotel and watching like Russia change around him and Moscow and how society is developing and his own personal developments and growths and how he starts to see difference in his past life and new life. And anyway, even at some point you're reading it, you're like, is this pertinent to the story, this description? But it's just so enjoyable to read. It definitely lives up to the bestseller hype because it's been on the top of the book lists for months. And I'm halfway through and it's been enjoyable. I would say I couldn't recommend it more. And if you like that slight, sort of like a dry humor where you read a sentence twice and you're like, oh my God, that was a straight up diss. Like, he just told him to off. But so that way the book is really good. And
But still a fiction. This is still fiction, right? This is not a true, based on true events.
Yeah. No. It is fiction.
Yeah.
But they've drawn a lot from historical reference because
Yeah. Okay.
timeline wise and like culturally wise and socioeconomically wise,
Like all these
that
things
is still in
happen. All
line
these
with the
moments in
time.
history actually happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So when the Tsar and the princes had to land up finding work instead, as musicians, like all of that stuff kind of gets woven into the story.
Wow, very cool.
So it's a really good book. And I
Who's
think
the
my
author?
second, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm gonna just tell you.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, it's Amor Towles, like AMORTOWLES.
Okay.
That's how you say it. It's just a gentleman in Moscow, and it's good.
Okay, wow.
I highly recommend it. And
Wow.
my what is it?
Recommendation.
My
Recommendation.
recommendation is Tanmay Bhatt's live stream.
Oh man,
Ah.
yes, I am there with you. Are awesome. It's the
Dude.
best. It's the best quarantine spend of your time. It's great.
Him reacting to TikToks.
Oh, dude, with Nishant Anwar.
Oh my God. I know that this sounds like such a silly thing to recommend, but I think the silliness of it is the best part. Like, it's so light, it's so enjoyable. His reactions are money.
Absolutely agreed.
I
He
watch it
recently
at night.
I
Just
recently had he
enjoy.
recently so he has started this thing called I don't know if I'm sure you've been watching if you've been watching his live streams. He started a thing called Mummy Papa Pitai.
Okay.
Okay,
No, so
which
I've
is
only watched his this TikTok
oh
stuff right
really?
now. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
yeah, I would say you're missing out because these so just check out go to his channel Tanmay Bhatt and type Mummy Papa Pitai. Okay,
Got it.
these are basically he gets his other comedian friends all along like Snehal Subramanian will be there on these episodes. So Rahul Dua, Nishant Anwar is always there, and all these hilarious comedians.
Hmm.
And they watch these YouTube videos where children get beat up by their parents. But wait, it's the child's fault because he is trying in the video. The child is always trying to make a YouTube video trying to show how angry his mom or dad actually is. Okay, so he'll be like, okay, chalo guys,
So he's basically antagonizing his parents. So the parents
basically,
are
yeah, he's saying like,
justified in
exactly.
beat.
He's
Oh
like telling the
God,
parent, he's like telling the parent that hey, I got like terrible marks, like failed and everything. When he has actually passed, he goes or sits next to his dad. He's like, yeah, I failed in everything. Then his dad takes out a I don't know, chappal, starts hitting him. It's the funniest series on that channel. Mummy Papa Pitai.
Oh my
Enough said.
God, I'm gonna watch it today.
Yes,
I
please.
watched the TikTok reactions last night, and I think it's the dual sort of joys. First of all, you get Tanmay's little and his friend. Sorry, I forgot his name.
This Nishant Anwar.
Yeah, Nishant Amar, who's also hilarious. They
Hilarious.
both like you get to see their small images, which is the reaction is great, but you get to see the actual TikToks as well. And
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
not someone who was ever on TikTok. I didn't get into that trend at all. I don't understand it, frankly. I didn't care when it got banned.
yeah. Same.
But
Absolutely.
it was more like, oh my God, what is the youth of this country doing on
Dude,
TikTok?
and
I
you
am
know, we saw the
baffled.
dancer. That dancer was so impressive. The one they were watching on, I don't know. There are like three TikTok videos. I don't know on
Dude,
Tanmay's
the
channel,
TikToks
but oh
are
man,
like the
yeah.
production value of these TikToks is just like I swear my friends and I were watching it together and all of us had the same reaction that if this kind of creativity, dedication and focus was just slightly angled in a more productive way, imagine where we would be.
That's
Yeah,
true.
well, no, I mean,
Uh,
it's really so. I mean, like you're talking about two really interesting things, right? So, I mean, like the first thing that I find really cool, really interesting, is the TikTok phenomenon, if you will, right? I mean, like, and
Yeah.
how things that were really kind of, I mean, like as you were saying, the kind of efforts that were going into creating these videos, the kind of imagination that was going into creating some of this stuff,
Yes.
right? Some of the stuff was really, really kind of well thought out, really highly planned. I remember
yeah,
meeting one of these TikTok guys a couple of months ago, right? Or a couple of months before lockdown started, so almost probably a year ago. And this was at an event where, people were talking about different content creations and all that kind of different content creation and stuff, right? And the work ethic that this guy was describing was insane. I've never heard of anything like
wow,
this. And the thing is that you hear about people putting in like 18-hour days during a movie shoot or something like that, but a movie shoot is finite,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Somebody
correct.
putting in 15, 16-hour days, day after day to be a TikTok, to create the TikTok content. Because again, the way
Yeah.
TikTok works is that all these people play the algorithm, right? And so the more you need to put out 4 or 5 videos a day for TikTok's algorithm to be optimized to your benefit. That's a
Oh
lot
wow,
of work.
yeah, low.
That's a lot of work, right? So I mean, like
That's
these
so intense.
yeah,
That's
I
so
know.
intense.
But again, the thing for a lot of them, it really was like kind of a great amount of fame, money, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
which worked well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely read a lot more about the sort of economics of TikTok a lot more after it got banned because
Yeah.
the reaction was very, you kind of were like, oh, it's clearly been very upsetting to so
Mhm.
many people. And then
yeah,
you get into it and you're like, yes, in a way, it was a very democratic app
Mhm.
and it
yeah,
leveled the playing field for a lot of people from tier two, three, four cities that might not
correct.
have kind of had that kind exposure and or like recreation. I think even like
Yeah.
recreationally, this has provided a lot.
No, it's important
But
from that perspective primarily. The content creators are one part of the ecosystem, right? But the reason why there
but
were
it's the
so many
viewers
content
as
creators because
well.
the viewers were there as well. And this
Yeah.
spoke to
True.
them in a way which clearly Instagram content creation or anything like that does not, right? This speaks to the population of our country in a way that other things don't. And I think that that was kind of one of the most interesting things about it too.
Do you think Reels
It
is
was
on
great.
Instagram is as good as TikTok or not really? You guys,
I don't.
No.
not even.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Okay.
I also think people are a lot more conscious of the content that they put on Instagram as opposed to the sort of freedom that people felt on TikTok to just quite honestly be weird.
Oh, it's like the early days of YouTube then, where people were like, we'll put it out there, we'll see whatever happens.
Yeah.
It's kind
And
of
I
like that.
think
Yeah.
TikTok, there was that lightness of like, it's not serious. You can't take this seriously at all. And so that kind of gave people a lot more room to be weird, or they wouldn't really like it, very unguarded. Whereas I think on Insta, there's still a barrier in terms of what you can put and what you can't, and what is content that influencers and famous people are allowed to put, and what you are allowed to put as
right.
just like a normal person on Instagram, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, I
Makes
see
sense.
that.
Yeah.
That sees that. But the other thing which I thought you were really that you guys were talking about, which I think was really interesting, was the reaction video phenomenon. Right? You were talking about
Yes.
this in
Yeah.
context with Tanmay, but I mean, like, I saw. So I've been watching. So I went down a rabbit hole like a couple of weeks ago. Right? One video went particularly viral. It was this. It was these two kids, 15, 16-year olds, who heard "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins for the first time.
What a
Uh,
magical video, though. What a
it,
magical
it
video.
was amazing, right? And I'm watching this, and it just drove me down a rabbit hole, right? Then I started watching all of these people reacting to Led Zeppelin for the first time, reacting to Rage Against the
Oh,
Machine for the first time. They'd never heard these bands, and these were people who, like, these are bands that I more or less grew up with. I am a lot older than both of you, right? So I mean, like,
yeah.
these were people who these were bands I grew up with, and to see people listening to Rage Against the Machine for the first time, it's something altogether kind of like it blows people's minds in ways that's tough to understand.
You're talking
But
about
you know,
reaction
this,
videos. Oh, sorry.
yeah.
So quick side note on say reaction videos. This is not really a reaction video, but we sadly just lost the great Chadwick Boseman, and I mean not us
Oh,
personally, the
yeah,
world
I know,
as
I
a
know,
whole.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, and but so if you go back and watch YouTube reaction videos to Avengers Endgame in theaters, where every time like a cool moment happens in the movie, the crowd goes such a like whoa, and you go back and watch the Chadwick Boseman part. Like, every time Black Panther enters on the screen, the crowd goes mental.
Nuts.
It is amazing. It gives you chills. It gives you goosebumps just to hear that. It is just. I would recommend that also. My recommendation, without even the first
There's like
recommendation. Okay, Ayushi, continue.
There's this, like, it's just on the same topic of reaction videos. So again, this
Yeah.
is not something that I was aware was such a subculture on YouTube and things like that. But I recently, during lockdown, have discovered BTS, the Korean band. Now, I'm not like a K-pop person, but I read an article about, again, BTS and the economics of how much money they've made and how much money they've donated and all of this stuff. So I kind of was like, let me check them out. There's a bunch of young Korean boys. Excuse me while I just take a back seat. These kids are just incredibly talented, so hardworking. The production value of their videos, the songs, their fans, all of that is just nuts. I mean, I don't have to explain that. But recently, there's been this wave of people in America and Europe watching BTS videos for the first time, trying to understand like what's the big deal about why the whole world is going crazy about them. And there are these guys, like there's a whole bunch of like typically, I would say, typically black rappers or dancers, choreographers, who like I don't want to say hip hop because I think that's very
right,
reductive as a word, but people who are way more hardcore in that kind of hip hop subculture
right.
who can, really like dance or rap and sing and stuff. And they've been watching BTS videos and their reactions of that, like stopping in the middle and being like, what the hell was that move? Like, do you think we can do it? Like, is that something? And just watching people, this cross cultural, and it's so organic. It's so sweet because that reaction is, I don't know how fake or real a reaction is, but sometimes when you see it, you're like, dude, that person is so into what they're watching. And
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, there's some bright spark of humanity I almost feel in these little
It
mini
really is, though.
situations.
It's when you are, well, people are open to other cultures and are experiencing those cultures for the first time. There's something special to see there, right? Especially if
Yes.
you feel native to the culture that is being explored. right? It's one of the things that I always, it always annoys me when people used to talk about, like, how we were looking for quote unquote white appreciation for Bollywood films, right? When it comes to this, right? I mean, like, there was always a little bit of me that was annoyed. I was like, no, I'm not looking for white appreciation, but I enjoy seeing somebody outside of the culture react to the culture that I am a part of, right? That is something which I enjoy. And so when I read a review of a Bollywood movie in the New York Times, I'm not happy that the New York Times is reviewing a Bollywood movie. That doesn't feel like a cause for celebration to me. But I enjoy seeing what somebody outside the culture thinks of the culture. That's something
That's
which
true.
I've always kind of I've always thought is fun to do.
Man, that actually leads me perfectly into my recommendation.
Okay.
My recommendation is a YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's called Tried and Refused Productions. Have either of you heard of this?
No.
No.
Okay.
No,
Tried and
but
Refused
I will
Productions is
check it out now.
basically a film review channel, but he does way more than that. Okay. It's a Bollywood film review channel, but he does way more than that. Firstly, his opinions are great, very very young opinions, like very millennial opinions, and the movies he likes or the kind of taste he has is very similar to mine. That's why I relate to him firstly a lot more, because that's how we choose our reviewers anyway, because his opinions, like his taste is similar to yours. That's why
Yeah,
you
I just want
call
to
a
hear
person.
someone tell me what I think. Anyway.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. But he does way more than just film reviews, where he talks about, like, he has like listicle videos also, but very cool listicle videos. Like some of them are like 8 very unpopular Bollywood movie opinions all of you will hate me for. So then he'll break them down, like some very unpopular opinions, and then he has one more called 10 big budget Bollywood movies that got cancelled and never released. So like he goes down the history of Bollywood, and like I don't know how he comes across like old interviews. I remember he had one video where 8 interviews where Bollywood actors were brutally honest, and in those interviews he'll find like some gems that those stars let through in interviews which they normally don't, and those interviews aired. So like some very interesting, cool things. I remember one was that there was a Salman Khan interview where this guy was talking about, and Salman Khan is basically saying that. So someone is talking to him about the black buck thing, the black buck issue that happened back in the day, and
Right.
they're like, so do you think you should have gone for jail because of this? And he goes, I wasn't the one who shot the bullet. And then the interviewer goes, but then you still took the fall for it. And he goes, yeah, yeah, that's what happens. But the way he says it actually makes it seem like he did not. He just took
One
the fall
second.
for a friend. That's what it seems like. But these are just like, there's some gems out there. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I was just like shocked at that piece of information
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
just said.
Even I was shocked. But I was just surprised how this person finds these old interviews, like even like small lines from like one Simi Garewal interview back in the day, or one tiny Shekhar Suman appearance somewhere. Just amazing. Really highly recommend
That
Tried and Refused Productions. You guys could just go down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
because of this guy.
there's this, I will say this, like TikTok has also brought out one really cool uh, sort of content. I think for me, I won't say for everyone, but definitely for me, it's just been like those throwbacks of like you've picked up random one-liners from an ad or like a movie that you grew up with, or just one sound clip from something that was really funny when you were younger. And all this stuff from your sort of tapestry, your own history that you've forgotten content-wise, even if it was like really small. People have brought it back and turned it into like a funny thing now, like a slice ad can just become, like that one ad of Katrina Kaif just being like
Yeah,
Rasila, which was so absurd as an ad. But then
yeah,
someone turning it around and making it something else. And like my friends and I have just been freaking out about the fact that we're getting these little gems from K3G or like
yeah,
from Dil Chata or something like that. And it comes out in this little twisted new
yeah.
packaging that's quite
Correct.
exciting as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, it's definitely fun, right? I mean, like a lot of the a lot of the, like, when people are mimicking those lines, or not, is mimicking the right word, or basically karaokeing to
Yeah,
lines.
yeah,
karaoke
yeah,
to
yeah,
lines.
Yeah, I mean, those are a lot of fun to watch. I mean, like,
yeah.
especially,
And yeah,
yeah, no, with TikTok, what you also had is you had the ability to kind of, like, select the audio piece, and then you could see like a whole bunch of
Yes.
people doing the same thing. So it was
yeah.
fun to do that. Sorry, Antariksh, you were saying something.
No, I'm saying some of them do it really well. The
Yeah.
karaokeing of the dialogues.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Unbelievable. Again, the
Yeah.
production value of that video, which is 30 seconds, but the
Yeah.
costume, there's lighting, there's
Yeah.
like props. It is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I almost wish I had gotten into TikTok before it got banned.
But you don't want to look at Chingari?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
What is that?
It's the Indian TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
It's the one that
no.
came out when TikTok got banned.
I actually don't wish it that much.
Also, Reposo. Wasn't there a Roposo or Reposo or something? There's another app.
There are lots of them. I mean, like,
Yeah,
dude, TikTok got banned and it was just like, hey, here's mine and here's mine and here's mine and here's mine.
Yeah. That's the end of our first half, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the other side where we talk about the topic. Woo!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to an amazing, awesome, excellent, extraordinary week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Intel, for supporting us. Great week on the network. If you haven't been listening, why haven't you been listening? You should be listening. Rohan Joshi was on Uncle Please Sid, discussed the toxicity of the Indian pop culture. Really fun conversation to listen to. Rajiv Samant, the founder of Sula Wines, was on Cyrus Says. Again, I think that was a fun conversation. Also want to call out the season finale of Yuddha. Yuddha is our military history podcast. Definitely do check that out. It's a really great listen. And finally, I want to just remind you all that, it's a dark time, but if you need a smile, go check out the Smile India podcast by Shifa Mehtra. It's in both English and Hindi, and I think that you will really enjoy the kinds of things that she's talking about there. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the second half. Today, the topic we're talking about is the longest running TV show or series that we are still obsessed with, that we still follow. So there are like, let's give an example. I'll start. The show that I'm going to recommend, the first show, I have like two at least that I want to get through this. The first one is, of course, the longest running.
Clarify your rules, right? Do you mean that you started watching it when it first came out and you've continued throughout? No. Or do you mean something which you've consumed a lot of seasons of?
It can be
That's
both.
That's an interesting question, and changes my prep.
Okay. It can be both. It can be both. See, so I'll tell you the breakdown. Okay, so the two shows that I'm going to recommend for this in this category are It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is going over 14 seasons, which I started watching in its third season. Okay, so love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And the second one is Saturday Night Live, which is like 45 years old. I could not have watched it, but I started watching it in 2007. But it just finished its 45th season, so it's been going on for a while. I have also checked out older seasons, so both of those apply in this category, in my opinion.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to start
I'm just going to say that SNL is in mine also, but I'm not copying
you.
I'm just saying.
Hey, awesome! Too cool. You're really gonna talk about SNL as well?
Dude, it's like the other show that I've watched religiously for years, but it's been something in terms of like anyway. I'll get into it on my time. You go first.
Okay, cool. So, starting off with Saturday Night Live. It's just completed its 45 years. Executive produced and created by Lorne Michaels, the great Lorne Michaels. Actually, so I also do comedy. I'm a stand-up comedian, and one of my dreams was to get on SNL because that's like some of the most popular, some of your favorite comedians that have come out from SNL, like Will Ferrell, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler. Just think of it. They've either tried to be on SNL, they've given auditions, they've hosted SNL, they have been cast members of SNL. Just what a history this institution has. I'll give you guys. You both are aware of SNL, obviously. It's a live sketch comedy show. Airs on Saturday nights. For 40 episodes a season. And just great. Every episode has a new celebrity host, and a musical host. They have a cool monologue. They'll have some really cool sketches. And SNL, as a history, has been a part of the comeback of some great comedians who weren't doing great, like Dave Chappelle. He had gone away for a while, and then he came back after the Trump election win. And what a great. That episode won an Emmy.
Yeah.
So SNL has been going on it started in 1975. So super long running. Do you guys want to guess? I don't know if you guys are aware of this. The very first host of SNL in SNL history, episode 1, season 1, episode 1. Just take a guess.
Go ahead. Tell us.
1975.
No idea.
Okay. I'll give you another hint. It was one of the biggest comedians of his time, and actually one of the biggest comedians in history.
In
1975.
1975, George Carlin?
1975. Yes,
Really?
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, the very first host of
I've
SNL,
read that
George
somewhere.
Carlin.
Yeah. Now it's coming
Isn't that
back to me.
insane?
Okay,
That
wow.
is crazy.
That is nuts,
The,
yeah.
out of the first 7 hosts, the first 7 episodes, the first 7 hosts, 4 of them were stand-up comedians like Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, Lily Tomlin was.
Richard.
Yeah.
Imagine she was
Yeah.
back then in the first
Yeah,
week itself.
so Lily Tomlin's story on SNL is very interesting. Lorne Michaels, before landing his SNL gig, before starting creating SNL, he was a writer, and before SNL, he had written for a couple of Lily Tomlin specials, which won like huge Emmys. So he had a very good relationship with Lily Tomlin. That's how he got her on. And an even more interesting bit is about Richard Pryor. He was the 4th host on the 4th episode of SNL, and Richard Pryor was known for his like Richard Pryor humor, right? Obviously, like super offensive, super out there, and it can be dark, and it can be a lot of N words, a lot of motherfuckers, and all of that. So they had for the first time, I think on SNL history, the first 3 episodes they didn't have this, but on Richard Pryor they had someone live censoring, someone ready to live censor Richard Pryor. Because they were like, we don't know what he's gonna say. Even Richard Pryor doesn't know what he's gonna say because that's what he said. That I'm just gonna come on, I'm gonna do my monologue, I'm gonna do the sketches, and that's gonna be it. So they had someone ready to live censor Richard Pryor, which is so fascinating that Richard Pryor gets that kind of treatment. So yeah, SNL. Some of my favorite cast members. Okay, which has been a favorite cast of SNL? There are like all like these set of casts that. Do you have a favorite?
I enjoyed the whole when like it was Tina, Amy, Seth,
Yeah.
Fred
Jimmy was
Armisen.
Weekend Update at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. But I think
Yeah.
even like that first
I
cast
agree.
was
That's my favorite cast.
that was
Bill
my
Hader,
yeah
Jason Sudeikis. Yeah.
No, I would
Yeah.
say Tina Fey and all was my introduction to SNL, but I
Oh, okay.
loved the cast that kind of came after them, which was Jason
Okay.
Sudeikis, Fred Armisen, Seth Meyers,
Yeah.
Bill Hader,
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Yeah, love all these guys.
Like all these people, that cast was great as well. Like, and of course, to me, though, now my heart belongs to Kenan Thompson. Like,
Kenan Thompson is great.
he's an institution. He's the longest running cast member in the history of SNL.
One of my favorite sketches is What Up With That. Have you seen this one?
Of course.
Yeah, What Up With That is basically just Kenan Thompson coming out as a talk show host with some great celebrity. Like, there's an episode with Robert De Niro or What Up With That. And basically, the guest, he asked the guest a question like, so, how did you make that film? And Robert De Niro was like, yeah, so the film was, a lot of fun to work on. And he'd be like, oh, just a second. It's time for our song. And then it just goes into a song of What Up With That. What up with that? And that's it. That's the entire.
He's just.
And it's so funny.
He is the kind of energy that is, and he hasn't aged at all. Like I feel like from the Keenan and Kel show, like on Nickelodeon, when we used to watch him as kids, then to now seeing him doing this kind of. Like such bizarre characters, like even like his Weekend Update characters, like Big Papi, like my neighbor, like Willie, and all that stuff is just. He's so good. He's so good. But the thing is, SNL is not a show that a lot of people get into as a whole. I think people really also enjoy the fact that YouTube has so much in terms of SNL skits. And a lot of people just watch the skits and the sketches and like the musical shorts instead of watching the whole show. Because the show is an intense, long kind of journey. And not every single sketch is like 100% relatable.
So Lorne Michaels himself says this, and I would totally agree. He says that in an episode, you will have one good sketch and the others are just okay.
Yeah,
normally.
But as long as you hit it out with one, the episode is worth it.
Also, though, like Lorne Michaels, again, like he was on the WTF podcast with Mark Maron, and this is just a great listen of that podcast. If you are
when was he on? Was it recent?
No, like a while back, like at least 6-7
Oh, yeah,
years
wait, I heard that. He had to go to his office and then he came back and something like that. I did hear it.
Correct. So Mark Maron himself had auditioned for SNL. He was auditioning to be on SNL. Sorry, on Weekend Update. He was going to be the host of Weekend Update. And then it just didn't happen because Mark Maron did some Mark Maron things, I guess, back in the day. And so Lorne Michaels on that episode, on the WTF appearance, says that I always know how old people are or when they went to college. by their favorite cast of SNL.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Because normally you get
that's when you watch.
exactly.
You guys
Exactly.
are talking about this, and I'm just thinking about this as you're talking about it. And I'm thinking about who are my favorite cast members, right? And the guy, my favorite cast was when I was in college, right? Chris Farley, David
Exactly.
Spade, Adam
Yeah.
Sandler.
Yep.
Then
Chris Rock was there.
Chris
Norm
Rock
Macdonald
was
was
there.
Weekend Update
Norm
host.
Macdonald was doing the Weekend Update.
Yeah. Oh, Norm Macdonald is
Mike
so funny.
Myers was there at the
Yep.
time.
Dana Carvey was there.
Dana Carvey was, yeah.
David
Yeah.
Spade, Adam Sandler, all of that. I really got into that
Yeah.
in the last couple of years. Like,
Right.
They were called the Rat Pack of SNL, by the way.
yeah, because also
David
they had
Spade,
so much
Chris
drama
Farley,
Yeah.
in their, you
Adam
know,
Sandler and Chris Rock. Yeah.
they had so much drama in their like
Yeah.
cohort.
Yeah.
No, but they're still making movies together, right? I mean, like all Adam Sandler's
exactly.
grown-ups is exactly
Have you guys
just those
seen-
people, isn't it?
Have you
Yeah,
guys seen
exactly.
Adam Sandler's
so
the
cool.
special, his last special on Netflix?
Oh, so magical.
So
That was
good.
amazing.
That whole tribute that he does to Chris
Amazing.
Farley as well
Chris Farley
was
is beautiful.
just
Yeah.
amazing.
No, I haven't seen that, but no, I think I need to see
Definitely
it.
watch it.
Yeah.
And I would say don't watch it with the expectation of like this is just going to be like Sandler slapstick comedy. It's
Right.
kind of
No,
like
no,
a
no, no.
show. Like it's production.
Yeah.
There's music, there's sketches, there's guests, there's all sorts
And
of stuff.
what is great about that show is it seamlessly goes from his live show, which he's doing live, which is the special that he's recording live, to rehearsal of that very same show. Okay, and then while he's developing, like in his like backyard or something.
It's very well produced.
It's very well produced. Yeah, absolutely.
Even Dave
Oh,
Chappelle's
cool, check it out.
backyard series, like the ones that he's done now on race relations and stuff, right? Because of
Yeah.
you know at the intersection of coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter movement, sort of he's done these backyard series which are also great. But I in general watch a lot of stand up.
So they say that so obviously Chris Rock was part of the cast that Amit is talking about. Chris Rock is one of the biggest comedians in the world right now.
Yeah.
If someone isn't aware, and he apparently never popped on SNL.
He
He didn't get like a big break.
He did.
didn't.
But after that, he went on to make two just banger specials. One of them is Bring the Pain with Chris Rock and Bigger and Blacker.
Yeah.
And both of those specials are what skyrocketed.
Well, actually,
skyrocketed
he
them.
got famous when he played Pootie in New Jack City, right? That's when he first got like kind of famous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but then he became this. Yeah.
and then,
those specials.
and then the specials came. I think immediately following that. But
Can you imagine that some people might just know him as the zebra from Madagascar? Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
That
that
is
is wild.
insane.
Yeah.
And he was still a good character. No shade to Madagascar at all.
No,
Great
absolutely
movie.
Yeah.
But
I used to do a spot on Chris Rock impression, which I'm pretty sure I cannot anymore. But I'll try it. Why not? I gotta do it. Tired of this shit. Sorry, this is kind of.
that's true. And it's his fingers. Like the way he holds his hands and fingers is just so specific.
It's so great.
No,
There's
definitely.
a cast member that was at the same time as Seth Meyers and everyone. Jay Farrow. Jay Farrow does the best impressions
of every black celebrity out there, right?
It's just unbelievable
Spot on.
how well he does.
There's a
it.
sketch.
If I could recommend something, just watch Jay Farrow's imitations of black rappers.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. There's a weekend update segment where Jay Farrow. It's called Weekend Update. Kevin Hart versus Cat Williams, both prominent comedians.
Oh my god, such a good sketch.
Jay Farrow murders in this segment. It is just great. It is amazing.
Watch him. He's just a joy to watch in general. Like just a good performer.
Yeah, great. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I
that's
definitely
SNL.
Definitely need to check this out. I haven't watched I haven't watched any SNL in a long time. I feel like
they've gotten admittedly, as it needs to be in a way because SNL provides, I think, like a huge cultural they're a fulcrum. When it comes to American politics and American satire.
Yeah.
They pivot a lot of things, and most of your liberal East and West Coast watches these shows as some sort of like a North Star to know which way your like Hollywood or your comedians are leaning and why and how to bring satire. And because satirical news has had such an uptick in the last 5 to 7 years, these shows have done really well because of segments where they get to be political in like a funny way.
Yeah.
And SNL in the last election was so instrumental. Some people say even in the downfall, because it made everyone like a lulled sense of security into believing there's no way that this madman could become president because
Right.
look at him.
Yeah.
And like it was just a confident Hillary 24/7 being like, why am I even here?
Yeah.
Like, why are you bringing me? This is not necessary. And Kate
SNL has
McKinnon did such a good job, but a disservice almost.
But
in a
Alec
way.
Baldwin did a better job. Is basically what came out.
Yeah, and it makes you feel like they're going to be treading a lot lighter and differently because of how much I think people gave them a lot of flack, being like the liberals are so, because if you only watch SNL, you'll think like America is a liberal country.
Right.
It's not. So,
oh, that's true, but it's not that SNL didn't make a ton of fun of Bill Clinton or of Obama either, right?
I mean, of course, they do it now. They still
obviously,
make fun of
but,
Bill
I mean,
Clinton.
like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton went pretty much on a diet because of SNL, right? Because, I mean, like, they had this initial sketch when he was a candidate where it was like basically he would go jogging. And that was like one of the things about, he was like, you know, there was a thing, right, that Bill Clinton went jogging. How can our president be photographed in shorts? That was 1990. Like, literally, in 1992, the question was, how can our president be photographed in shorts? But he would go jogging, and then, like, they made a sketch out of it that every time he'd go jogging, what he was actually doing was he was going to McDonald's. Right, and then he was eating at McDonald's.
That's so funny.
And so they turned that into a whole thing, and it became really kind of one of the dominant ways that people thought about Bill Clinton. A lot of people think that the reason why the first President Bush, George H.W. Bush, right, the reason why he lost the election was because of SNL's impressions of him and Ross Perot. Right?
Yeah, so
it has
been
an
very
effect.
instrumental in the political landscape of that country. Even though, if you think about it, it's so funny that actually, you know what? I'm jealous. I'm jealous that a show like that exists and provides so much political commentary and fodder. Because let's not even get into the cesspit that is our media. But I think institution show. It's just. It transcends just being a show. It's like a launch pad, if anything.
It is. It definitely is. Definitely is.
I just realized, had they shown Bill Clinton going into massage parlors on an SNL sketch, he would have stopped cheating on his wife.
Nah, he's always.
That would have been too much on the nose, for them.
They were fairly on the nose about that kind of thing as well, right? I mean, like they used to show
they made a lot of fun
as
of
like a slime ball.
Correct.
Yeah. They showed him as a slime ball for sure.
Yeah. I remember just quick, the Sarah Palin Tina Fey moment. When Tina Fey decided to play Sarah Palin on SNL, that had a huge impact on that election, Obama-McCain election.
Of course it did.
And apparently that turned the tide on the McCain train, basically. This is what they say.
I think that's giving it a little too much.
Too much credit.
Too much credit, sure. But it definitely had some impact.
Actually, I think the opposite happened. Tina Fey humanized Sarah Palin. She made it the opposite way. Like, I think it was more like she made this woman look a little less, because you started looking at them like parodies, right? You're like, oh, this is just a parody version. This is just a parody version. Till at some point you stop remembering that these things have been taken from real life instances, and this is like real shit these people have said. And I think that's sometimes where it kind of obfuscates the issue. But anyway, again, I do think that's giving them too much credit and too much burden to bear. Like, that's not
true.
Of course.
Yeah. It's not there. It's not. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Let's
Ayushi,
move on.
Let's move on, Ayushi.
So obviously we've dedicated enough time to SNL, but that's definitely one of the longer shows. For me, I'm half embarrassed. Is Grey's Anatomy has
Don't be
been
embarrassed.
one of the longest running shows. We're going to be heading into season 17. It is, I think, one of the longest running TV and medical dramas that has been on. And I started watching it from season 2 because my aunt used to watch it, and I used to be like, what's the shit you're watching? Then I sat next to her, and then every Thursday I'd be like, how could McDreamy do that? But I'm into McSteamy. And it was inappropriate because if you think about it, 16, 17 years ago, I was 12 and 13. So, but, I've watched it through these years, and it's been one of those things where I know I'm fatigued with it. I'm also tired of it, and I'm like, this has to end. but I can't bring myself to not keep up and not watch it. So many characters have left. I think of the original 7 or 8 that started the show, there's only 3 left now.
Well, that's actually incredible that there are 3 left 17 years later.
Yeah, so Ellen Pompeo is obviously still on the show.
Correct.
She's, she's leading it amazingly. And then Chandra Wilson, who plays Dr. Miranda Bailey. And then the actor who plays Richard Webber, who I forgot. But these 3 are basically the ones that are still around. And so if you'll just allow me a slight digression in why this show kind of stood for other things as well, is because, first of all, this was Shonda Rhimes' first show. Shonda Rhimes, as everyone knows, is one of the largest creators of drama. So she's done Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Grey's Anatomy. This is all Shonda Land shows. And she's this amazing, and she's this amazingly powerful Black woman in Hollywood, which, first of all, is crazy admirable. And she's been the showrunner. She's always given platform to very strong female characters. And she's let them, have shades of grey. They've definitely messed up. Nobody is perfect on these shows. They all continuously make mistakes for the sake of the story also. But it's first of all, I never used to watch it under the guise of feminism, but now I really sometimes feel these are very feminist productions. They're very female-led shows now. And so about, I think 5 seasons ago, Patrick Dempsey, who played McDreamy, Derek Shepherd, the lead, and the love interest, he left. And everyone thought the show would collapse. They were how can you make the show without Derek Shepherd? He is Derek Shepherd, he is the show, and he's McDreamy. He's been the love interest for millions of young girls, who grew up being I want a neurosurgeon, until you realize, no, that fucking ego. So when he left, everyone kind of wrote off the show, and they said that Ellen Pompeo probably couldn't do it on her own. She can't carry it. But the show has gained so many new followers, new watchers, and has retained its audience. So much so that they have been renewed. They don't even have review meetings as such. It's just kind of do you have a pitch for the next season? It's good. Let's renew it. Ellen Pompeo has worked hard. I've watched these videos, and I've watched her coming on board as a producer, even directing 1 or 2 episodes to kind of get into the feel of it, to understand what the show needed. And the show had a bad reputation of having an unhealthy set life. There was definitely some racial tension that was exchanged at some point, some minor homophobic incidents. There was also this little sexism between the male and female. And again, I don't want to get into that, but she, as an actress, as the lead actress, was this needs to be addressed. And she has worked hard on changing, she and everyone else as well, they've worked on changing kind of the ethos on their show, on the set. And now they've started tackling a lot of social issues as well. They do a lot for race. They have all these episodes where they kind of show you how young Black kids are shot in America just for being Black. That's just the premise of why they got shot. They've had those episodes, where there's mixed race couples, there's same sex couples, there's the entire concept of the underlying racism, homophobia, and intolerance that is being faced. They've brought it onto the show, and they're making these doctors. And of course, all these doctors are perfect, and they're so righteous, and they're all. But I think you need those kind of things sometimes to remind you that this is the kind of aspirational quality. This is what you're supposed to be, aspiring to be, because this is the good person. And I know that there's very blatant good and bad on the show, and they create these moral dilemmas only so that the person does exactly what's needed. I know, guys, I know. But I'm just saying, the show has changed a lot, and I'm in a way almost proud of the show because it's evolved enough to be relevant even now. I'll be sad to see it go because I don't know what I'll do with my Friday mornings now. Because, we watch it, comes on Hotstar, but I watch it on Friday.
It's so impressive that a show can survive a lot of its original cast leaving and still be that good.
It's
because
unbelievable.
Very rarely does that happen. People actually lose a lot of interest if the original cast leaves. I remember talking about another hospital drama. This was hospital comedy actually, Scrubs.
Yeah.
The original cast left in the 9th season.
And that
A lot of the original cast
the
left,
next
and that
season-
was the
the
death
next
of it.
season
It was
was
such a
shit.
boring season. Yeah, it was crap.
But even
Exactly.
this, like,
so it's impressive.
with Grey's, this, like, Alex Karev, who was another doctor, who was part of the original, like, that came in that class, he left this last season. And again, people were like, oh, I just don't want to watch it anymore, because he was a beloved character. He had one of the most amazing arcs from being a screw up to being, like, the best kind of doctor, and how he gets there. There's a lot. People were like, again, why do you want to watch this? They're just taking people off. They're doing this. It's unfair. And the fans, then you realize that the fans are so invested in these lives because it makes you feel so tethered to some sense of stability and normalcy. Even though it's a show, it means so much to people because it's helped so many people, like, get through their own issues. And I know it's a drama. I know it's on primetime television. I know it's pandering to me.
But
I'll
still,
watch it, dude.
it's fun to be
still watch
pandered
it.
to.
Yeah, and I'm proud of the women on that show. It's also now it's got a lot more like sisterhood vibes going on, because the three sort of there's three main characters out of, like, maybe the main 7 that are strong female leaders on the show. And so they guide a lot of the story arcs from the medicine and the personal point of view. And I should stop talking about this show now.
No, it's interesting, right? I think it's definitely a show that has a tremendous amount of fandom to it, right?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, like, the people love this thing. I mean, like, there's just no question about it. But should I go now? I'll do
Yeah.
my
Yes,
last
please.
one. All right. So I actually put together I feel like some of these shows, I have this thing about the 40-minute crime show, right? The 42-minute kind of, like, self-contained episode that is over when it's done with. And so there are a number of examples in that, right? So there is Criminal Minds, there's NCIS, there's Blue Bloods, there's so many of these. But the gold standard, right? The gold standard for this is the original Law and Order, right?
Law and Order.
Exactly. 1990 to 2010, 20 seasons. I've seen each and every episode of it.
What?
Yeah, I've seen each and every episode of Law and
What?
Order. Yes.
Wow.
Sorry, I looked away from the thing for 1 second. Did you just say you've seen every single episode of Law
I've
and
seen
Order?
every single episode of Law and Order. I'm a completionist of that when it comes to that kind of thing.
You know what, Amit? I'm surprised you found time to found a company during the watching of every single episode.
I saw this actually. I saw every single episode much before I founded the company.
Wow.
But I was working on another company. But see, here's my thing, right? I mean, like, I am a creature of routine in some ways, right? What I like to do is come home. This was mostly during the last company which I was working at, right? I'd come home I'd be at home by like 8:39. I'd have a little bit of dinner, and I'd want to watch a little bit of television, but not something that would suck me in. So I'd watch 2 episodes of Law and Order. Right. And, I mean, like, it's a lot of episodes, but it's not like a ridiculous amount of episodes. I think it's like something like 400 episodes or something like that. Right. So if I'm watching 2 every night, I mean, that's a year worth of television. It's not that difficult to do.
Actually,
it is.
The thing is, now it seems like it's not so bad to do, because the way we're consuming media seems very different. But, like, back then, I guess I'm just really young. I wasn't allowed to watch so much TV.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, it is. But I mean, like, I watched it when I was in my 30s, right? So I mean, like, it's not I saw
You didn't have a curfew.
I didn't have a curfew at that time. I didn't have anybody tell me that, oh, you're only allowed to watch this much. So yeah, but I watched it in my 30s. I actually this wasn't the only one, right? I saw all the Law and Orders except for SVU. SVU, I saw like 2 seasons, and I'm like, I don't want to watch a show about a rape every week. So I kind of like.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you. I was like, do you watch SVU? Because I know that, like, that's been also another massive show for American culture.
It is. It's a long-lasting show,
sorry,
but it's
SVU?
just. I'm sorry. Special Victims Unit, but it's basically sexual assaults and stuff like that, right? It's sex crimes. And, I mean, like, I don't want to watch sex crimes I just don't want to watch that much about sex crimes. It's, it's depressing. It's dark. It's like, it's just, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I saw the Law and Order. There was another one, a spin-off called Law and Order Criminal Intent, which had a really, really good lead actor, Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't know.
Of course, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, the guy from Men in Black who played the bug.
He played Kingpin on Daredevil.
Yes.
The Netflix series, yeah.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
actor.
yeah. So he was the lead of that, and he's done a lot of stuff before that. He was popular. He was a well-known actor before that, and he's like an actor's
Yeah,
actor,
yeah.
right? So he was
Absolutely. Yeah.
so he was the lead on that, which was a little different than this one was, right? The original Law and Order is very kind of formulaic. Half of the show goes to the police inspection, half of the show goes to the criminal trial, and that's how it is, right? The first 20 minutes are all about the police investigating the crime. The second 20 minutes are about the lawyers fighting the case. And it just scratched such an itch, right? And such an amazing star cast over the years, right? Over the years, I mean, like seriously, if you just think about who all was in it, it's kind of nuts. The first season had Chris Noth as one of the detectives, right?
Oh.
He was like super young at that time, right? He was the junior partner on the of the equation, but he was the guy in the first season, right? Then they had Paul Sorrentino. He played one of the cops. Anthony Anderson played one of the cops. Jesse Anderson played one of the cops.
Oh.
Benjamin
Forgive me if
Bratt
I'm
played one of the
wrong, but I
cops.
think was Ice-T on one of the Law and Orders?
So
Ice
The
T
he's on
is
actor
on
Ice-T?
he's
SVU.
on SVU. He's
The
on
SVU.
He's
SVU.
on
Okay.
SVU.
He's
Okay.
on
Okay.
SVU, and then there was the most famous of them all was Jerry Orbach, who played the longest running detective in this. He wasn't well known for anything outside of Law and Order, but in Law and Order he was just like the perfect cop, right? And then when you look at all the different DAs they had, right? I mean, like Sam Waterston was like the main guy. Then they
That
had
he is just the dreamiest, I think.
he's incredible, right? They had Alana de Graza, they had Angie Harmon, they had Jill Hennessy. Again, actor after actor, actress after. It's just a fantastic cast. And then the guests that they had, like the guest stars that they had. Basically, Law and Order kept Broadway employed and paid for the 20 years which it was working, right? Because it was one of the few shows shot in New York, and they had the pick of basically Broadway actors to come and do like 2 days here, 2 days there
Yeah.
for different kinds of roles, right? And so the entire show is so well acted. It's just really it's an amazing achievement in many ways.
There was a somebody had written a joke somewhere. It's like if you were an actor struggling in New York and you haven't been on a Law and Order episode, are
Yeah.
you even an actor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
trying
So I
because
say.
they cast so many people. Each episode has
Even the
so
body
Yeah.
many.
body
Yeah.
bags
It's
require an actor to
Yeah,
be in
it's
that.
like our Savdhan India or Crime Patrol.
yeah.
That's what they say in our Bollywood circles.
Huh.
That I used to go for a lot of. I've been an actor also back in my young life for 28 years, and I've gone for a lot of Crime Patrol and Savdhan India auditions. It's very crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's a big part of this, right? I think that really is a the fact is that if you watch this, right? I mean, like you'll just see, oh my God, that person, oh my God, that person, oh my
Yeah.
God, that person. Like it's just like a succession of people who you recognize from different things.
And I
So
think you're right about the fact that the formula of the show is also very satisfying because you can turn off the episode and just feel like it's done.
it's done
You've
exactly.
clipped it and it's done.
Yeah.
No, so that's those are some of my favorite things, right? I mean, like most of the television I watch is along those lines. I rarely watch stuff which is highly serialized. It's not that I don't, because some of the best stuff is highly serialized. Breaking Bad, The Wire, but I like the episodic structure. I really do, right? So I mean, like I'll watch it's a big reason why I like a lot of the quote unquote network shows, which most people look down on.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I do enjoy them is because they have a very episodic structure. Things reset. If I miss an episode, it's not the end of the world. And not very rarely do I feel like, oh, I got to see what happened next.
Yeah.
And that happens in serialized, right? If you're watching Better Call Saul, it's tough to go to sleep after a reasonable amount of time.
Where can people check out Law and Order? All the Law and Order episodes?
So I got it a long time ago. At that point in time, there were no official sources.
No, okay. Are there any official sources now?
I
Or you're
don't
going
think
to-
so. I think SVU is on Amazon, and but I
Okay.
don't think that the original Law and Order is playing anywhere right now. It's not available in India.
I used to like watching Criminal Minds
Yeah,
because
I
of
saw-
that very like there's freaky ass crime.
Yeah.
Then they all start investigating. The slight bit of drama shootout between the people. They catch the dude.
So I really enjoyed Criminal Minds for a long time, but then I started to not like it so much when it started focusing more on the killer first, then it started focusing on the process of catching them.
Yeah, you're right.
You know-
The older seasons of Criminal Minds were great because also the cast was so like funky, fresh, and cute.
Exactly.
And but when they were it was just about the way that they caught the guy was so interesting. But Criminal Minds is not a show that I recommend to women in India
Okay, fair enough.
because it's too scary. It's too scary. It makes
Yeah.
everything too real.
Quickly, because I already mentioned this in the beginning of the second half, I will talk about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is just crosses 14th season. And I started watching the third season, and it is one of. Are either of you fans of It's Always Sunny?
I've seen a couple of seasons in the beginning.
I've seen a bit, but I haven't. I need to watch it. I know it's something. It's on my to watch list.
Okay, it definitely should be on that. 14 seasons, about 10 episodes a season, and still hysterically funny and super dark. They talk about the most taboo topics. I remember the very first episode of the very first season is titled "The Gang Gets Racist." That's the name of the episode. So that's how they are. They have an episode called "The Gang Turns Black," where they sleep at night and next morning they wake up as black people. But that episode is a musical episode where they have like songs in the middle. So again,
It's very
hilarious.
bizarre. It's very bizarre.
It's very bizarre, but it's very amazing, and it's created by the three main actors on the show.
Okay.
Are Glenn Howerton who plays Dennis, Charlie Day plays Charlie Kelly, and Rob McElhenney plays Mac on the show. And they three are the creators of the show. Like Rob created the show, Rob McElhenney, and he got the other two as executive producers. And so that was the first season. They have another actress called Elizabeth Olsen, and in the second season they got Danny DeVito as one of their additional cast members, because the show was doing well with critics in the first season. It did really well with critics, but nobody was watching the show. So the story goes that the FX or the owner of FX, the channel that they're on, called up Rob McElhenney, who is the creator of the show. He calls up Rob McElhenney and he goes, "Hey man, we love the show. We want to continue doing it, but nobody's watching it. So we want you to add a star or onto the show who will get some eyeballs to the show." And Rob was like, he said, "Okay, we want you to talk to Danny DeVito. He's a personal friend. Please talk to Danny DeVito. See if you can incorporate him into the show." And Rob was like, "Nah, man, we don't want a star. He'll come, he'll throw his tantrums. He'll probably make the show his own. He'll be crying about lines that he doesn't have or whatever." And so he was like, "No, I don't want to do this." And then the owner was like, "Okay, fine." And the show was cancelled. And then Rob was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." So that's how he got. He went out to the story goes that he went to Danny DeVito's house, and in one sitting of an hour-long meeting, they had decided, yeah, Danny DeVito is going to be on the show. And ever since season 2, he has been on the show, and it's been a perfect, seamless addition to the cast, which I feel even is better now that it's in the 14th season. Because Danny DeVito, they will get him to do the craziest stuff. There's an episode where Danny DeVito is sewed into a sofa naked, okay, and he crawls out of the sofa from a slit in the sofa. Looks like a naked old baby being born from the sofa. It is just love. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Please check it out. I'm sorry we have to cut this short. Do you guys have any thoughts on It's Always Sunny if you want to share? Otherwise, we'll just end this.
Nothing really from my end. I haven't really seen it that much, so I don't have that much to add about it.
I cannot recommend it enough. I recommend it to all my friends.
Cult following. It has a cult following.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm in a cult, baby. Okay, thank you so much, guys. You guys have been lovely.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Amit, where can people follow you online?
Doshi Amit on Twitter, and that's pretty much it. Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Doshi Amit.
And Ayushi, where can people follow you?
I'm at Ayushi A9 on Instagram and at Just Ayushi on Twitter.
Thank you. And I am Antariksh T on Instagram. Please follow us there. Thank you so much, guys. This is a lovely, lovely episode. Great talk. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm DJ, one of the presenters of the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast. I'm based in London and host the podcast along with my friend from school, Varun, who's based in Singapore, and his brother Ashwin, who's based in the US. We've all been massive fans of Indian cricket all our lives, and despite living in 3 different time zones and having pretty busy professional lives, we decided to start our own cricket podcast in March 2018. After putting out 59 episodes on our own, we were delighted to join IVM in May 2019, becoming the first pre-existing podcast to be picked up by India's largest podcast network. We've chatted with some awesome people, had some fantastic cricketing conversations along the way. But the main reason we do this every week is to have fun discussing the same cricket topics and issues that you guys are talking about every day in your living rooms. We're fans, not experts, so expect us to be honest. We really hope you decide to join us every week on the podcast.